Hello everyone, welcome back to Brian's Tech Tips. Today I'm going to make a custom starter wire. The reason I'm going to make it custom is because it runs near headers. It's not happy. It gets hot, it ain't happy. So we're going to use some insulation. We're going to cover it with some reflective tape. Things you're going to need: wire. You're going to want some large gauge wire because it's going to be supplying the starter. We have a heat gun, some wire strippers, heat shrink. We're going to use some fancy looking wire cover and a wire crimper. I knew I was forgetting something. I'm going to be using a hydraulic wire crimper. Now this is a 2-gauge wire, but after doing some tests, the crimp looked best with the 3, which is slightly smaller than a 2-gauge. Let's get started. Oh, wait. Sorry, there's something I forgot to tell you guys. When you're doing starter, alternator wire, and things that just require a lot of current, there's some trickery in the wire community, or selling of wire, I guess. There's something called copper clad wire, which is very large in the amplifier and car audio world. It's sold for very cheap, but copper clad is aluminum covered with copper. Now you can tell when you have copper clad because when you hold this at just the right angle, you'll see it be silver instead of a copper color. Now see, this is 100% copper. The easiest way to get copper wire is looking for welding wire. Welding wire is really flexible, it's really nice. You can use it for battery cables and everything else. And copper clad is also more brittle, so more vibrations, it'll break more. Yeah, just get 100% copper, but you do you. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Our first step is we're going to put on the lug, but actually, sorry. The first step is put on your heat shrink, or else it's kind of a pain. It's already kind of a pain. Okay, this is going to be a little weird for you guys, but my starter is going to have 2 wires. I upgraded the starter, and it already had a starter solenoid on the starter, which the really old one didn't have a built-in solenoid. So I just have to make sure that the solenoid gets the power at the same time that the starter does, or else it's not going to crank. You're probably not going to have to worry about this, but that's what I use the wire strippers for. And then I don't have a fancy wire stripper for this, so I'm just going to use this nice knife and just work my way around it. Probably not the safest way to do this, but it'll work. All right, we got that off. Then I just have to make sure that these wires all go in at the same time. Not a big deal. Well, it's a big deal, or else the car's not going to start. There we go. Next, another tip I have is if you don't know what size lug you need, the hole, like this is a 2 AWG for the inside for this. But if you don't know what hole you need, just get a smaller size and you can always drill it out, but make sure you don't drill too much. But yeah. Just gonna slide this over. All right. It's all the way on. Going to use our nice Amazon hydraulic crimper. I will make sure there's a link to all this stuff in the description. This is pretty difficult videotaping this at the same time, but we'll get by. Just make sure the wires stay all the way in and let her have it. And I like to do it until this gap is 0 right here. Or at least until it stops. Pretty close. Let her out. And there you have it. Beautiful, beautiful crimp. And not yet. Our next step, well, for me, you don't really have to do this, but it helps keep moisture out, is I have some liquid electrical tape. I put this on the floor. Oh well. Around here to help also keep moisture out so that this wire will last forever. Maybe not forever, but oh man, I'm making a mess. Oh well. Try not to make a mess on yourself. It's a lot nicer when you don't. Okay, I'll be right back. All right, I decided to use a new piece of heat shrink so that it didn't have electrical tape all over it, and I put on gloves because apparently I'm a mess. But that's okay. Things don't always work out how you think. Now, you can either use a lighter to shrink this, a soldering iron, or a heat gun. Heat gun's fastest. And then I'm not playing with fire on YouTube. Probably shouldn't play with fire today since it's not working well. All right, it's beautiful. Nice and tight on there. Got the electrical tape helping keep out moisture. Just perfect. Now the next step, I'm going to slide some of this heat protector over the wire. I'm probably going to use 2 feet. Now, there's going to be nothing fancy to this. Just slide it on. I don't think you need to watch me slide this on, so we'll be back for the next part. All right, I slid this cover on, and I put on another piece of heat shrink just to help hold this in place while I wrap it. And then the next step is I'm going to use some of this heat reflective tape. I don't know if this actually works, but my other starter melted when I just put a little sheet over it. I'll show you the sheet real quick. See, it melted right here, and the starter wire kind of melted inside it. And no, it wasn't touching the header, before you ask. I don't know, things happen. So next, we're gonna wrap it in heat reflective tape. Let me get ready for that. So basically, this is just tape. And of course, with gloves, I'm not going to be able to peel it. Oh, you can see it. And we're just going to stick it. And just wrap it around real careful like. All right. Not going to do this whole thing on camera, but I think you get the gist. Basically just half. Just keep wrapping it real tight. All right, we have it all wrapped up. Not perfect, but it'll work. Next thing I'm going to do is put heat shrink over a small portion of the reflective tape. That way the tape won't come off. And then I'm going to do the exact same to the other side. Just use the heat gun. All right, I'm going to do the exact same for the other side. I don't think you need to watch that another time. Okay, so we're at this point. We have it wrapped, good to go. And I cut it based on the length of my own starter wire. You're going to have to figure out what length you need. And now, the next step, you guessed it, heat shrink. Oh, I dropped it. So we're going to slide the heat shrink back all the way down. All right, all the way down. We're going to tuck it in just like right there. So this is going to cover it a little bit. And then the next step, which will make it beautiful, is we're going to use this cover. You can see it, it's very nice, it's beautiful. And this is kind of a tricky part. Get it started. You kind of have to push, pull. Push, pull. And you're just going to do that until it's the whole length. Push. We're just going to keep doing that. And I'm going to finish it. So the next thing is we need to get the fancy wire cover under the heat shrink, and that's not always very easy. What I like to do is wrap around here. Then cut it. And then we'll slide this on there. So we got this all slid on there, and the next thing, just apply heat. You know the routine here. All right, I'm not going to make you watch the last step, but I'm going to show you the finished result. Basically, you just do the exact same first steps as you did on this one to this one. You're just going to cut. Put the lug on, put the heat shrink on, make sure this is underneath the heat shrink, and then I'm going to show you the final results. All right, we have our finished wire. Now I know this thing is protected from my headers. Now remember, your starter wire should never touch your headers, but it does get close, and that's just the way it is sometimes. And I really wish this would focus. There we go. Wow. I love this wire cover. It makes everything just look so professional. Got the other end on there, crimped nice and tight. Now remember, if you can pull these off after you crimp them, you need to do better. Starters draw a lot of amps, and if they're loose, they're just going to heat up and cause you all sorts of problems. And they're by your headers. This will work for alternator wires and everything else. Just beautiful. All right, everyone, I'm going to give you a final tech tip that I completely forgot before the video that would have made our lives a lot easier. This stuff, when you cut it and it frays and it gets all, there you go, gets all, and then when you try to put it on, it's hard. We're going to fix that. Cut it. Now, it won't separate when you put the wire on, and it'll be much easier to get the heat shrink over. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Remember, 100% copper wire for high loads like alternators, starters, electric fans, anything with motor basically, anything that provides electricity, 100% copper. If you like these videos where I try to do everything perfectly and mess up on camera, please like and subscribe. I love you guys. Have a good rest of your day.